Imagine you've just sent a long, heartfelt message to your partner. A few minutes pass, and you get a single word reply. Okay. Objectively, it's a completely neutral text. But if you are already feeling insecure about the relationship, your brain immediately processes those 4 letters as a silent, hostile attack. Almost instantly, you start combing through your memory of the last 24 hours. You recall they were quiet during breakfast. You remember they sighed when they walked through the door. You start compiling a meticulous dossier of evidence to prove that they are definitely angry with you. Long before smartphones triggered our modern anxieties, Leo Tolstoy observed in 1897 that even the most brilliantly intelligent people can rarely accept the simplest, most obvious truth if it forces them to admit that their firmly held conclusions are actually false. Psychologists call this mechanism confirmation bias. It acts as your mind's internal yes man, automatically filtering out opposing facts, while frantically searching out, interpreting, and recalling only the information that supports what you already believe. We all carry around an invisible prosecutor in our heads, constantly building cases to justify our existing fears. And that prosecutor quietly dictates who we trust, who we choose to love, and how we construct our entire reality. To understand how this internal prosecutor builds its case, we have to look at the 3 distinct filters it uses on reality, starting with what researchers call biased search. Rather than gathering neutral evidence, we instinctively use a positive test strategy. If you think a coworker is an introvert, you wouldn't ask how they spend their weekends. You will ask, do you hate noisy parties? Framing the question so you are virtually guaranteed to get the answer you expected all along. This animated diagram illustrates our second filter, biased interpretation. In a famous Stanford study, researchers gathered a group of people strongly in favor of the death penalty and a group strongly against it, and gave them all the exact same pool of mixed, contradictory research to read. As the data split here shows, the participants tore the shared evidence apart. They praised the details that supported their view, aggressively dismissed anything contrary, and walked away even more fiercely entrenched in their opposing positions. The final filter is biased recall. Our current emotional state literally reaches back into our past and rewrites our memories to fit our present narrative. When researchers tracked public reactions to O.J. Simpson's murder acquittal, they asked people to describe their emotional response immediately after the verdict, and then again months and years later. As people's opinions of the verdict shifted over time, their memories morphed to match their current appraisal. To understand why the human brain evolved to actively distort facts and invent fake memories, evolutionary psychologists point to the cost-benefit theory of survival. In our ancestral environment, the math was brutal. Incorrectly trusting a hidden enemy meant death. If you incorrectly doubted a true friend, you merely missed out on a social connection. The cost of a false positive was lethal, while the cost of a false negative was a minor inconvenience. Searching for confirmation to feed our distrust is a highly rational, primal defense strategy designed specifically to keep us alive in dangerous environments. A defense mechanism designed for the wilderness becomes incredibly dangerous in modern life when the brain's threat detection system refuses to power down. After a severe betrayal or a painful breakup, some people develop a condition known as pistanthrophobia. It's a specific, trauma-induced fear of ever being vulnerable again. To ensure that kind of pain never returns, the traumatized brain weaponizes confirmation bias. It hyper-focuses on any tiny behavioral cue that might signal a future betrayal. It successfully shields the person from heartbreak, but it completely paralyzes their ability to build intimacy. Push that dial to its absolute extreme, and you reach a clinical diagnosis known as paranoid personality disorder. People with this disorder live in a state of enduring global mistrust. A helpful suggestion from a coworker or a casual glance from a stranger on the street are strictly processed as calculated, malicious attacks. At this level of severity, the cognitive filter is completely sealed. You cannot show them objective evidence to prove their safety, because the disorder automatically interprets the evidence as part of a larger conspiracy against them. Here lies the tragic irony of our biology. The brain builds these cognitive filters to protect us from the dangers of the outside world. Left unchecked, those defenses mutate into an inescapable, isolated prison of paranoia. When millions of individual brains follow this exact same biological imperative, the isolation scales up to fracture entire societies. Mass cognitive bias sustains historical mass delusions. Discredited beliefs, from witchcraft panics to medical superstitions, survive and thrive long after the original evidence for them has been completely demolished. You can see this phenomenon, known as attitude polarization, dominating modern politics. During the 2004 U.S. presidential election, researchers monitored voters as they evaluated statements from their preferred candidate that were clearly, demonstrably contradictory. Brain scans revealed that voters were actively reducing their own cognitive dissonance. They effortlessly spotted the hypocrisy in the candidate they already opposed, but completely smoothed over the logical flaws of the candidate they supported. Today, social media algorithms systematically exploit these biological defaults. They track our existing preferences and feed us endless loops of validating content, trapping us inside frictionless echo chambers where our views are never challenged. Escaping this cycle, whether you're trying to break out of a political bubble or rebuild trust in a personal relationship, requires deliberately fighting against millions of years of evolutionary programming. Psychologists point to a practice called active open-mindedness. This means treating your own instincts with profound skepticism, actively seeking out the exact reasons why your initial fear or cherished idea might be entirely wrong. Clinical interventions like cognitive behavioral therapy use this approach to help people rewire their defense mechanisms. By engaging in exploratory thought, neutrally considering alternative viewpoints before jumping to a verdict, we can slowly dismantle the walls of our own paranoia and restore baseline trust. Whether we are trying to heal a fractured society or simply salvage a struggling marriage, finding the truth demands something extraordinarily difficult. It requires the courage to aggressively search for evidence that we are wrong and the profound vulnerability to actually accept it.